So this is video 3 in the FormIt series, and again we're looking at this area, just sort of using falling water as an example for what I'm wanting to do. And this is in particular walking through a project that I'm doing with my Rep 2 class, ARC 222, Drury University Hammond School of Architecture, where we are looking at precedent studies to learn a little bit about digital representation, digital design in architecture. So right now, I've got sort of a base of what's happening with falling water, but I really don't have enough information right here. And using FormIt, as a base, I need a little bit more data than this satellite image is providing, because I've got trees over the top of everything, which is awesome, but not particularly helpful for understanding how the floor plan is working. So I'm not going to be really precise with this, but I'm just going to sort of block this in. This same technique of bringing in an image and using it as a base plan will work for any kind of floor plan or even a napkin sketch. You can start taking a basic sketch and applying a basic understanding of scale, and that sort of saves you from that terrifying blank screen looking at an open grid and not knowing exactly what to do next. The integration of drawing an image into FormIt, super easy to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right up here to my main menu, and I'm simply going to run an import from my local computer. So import locally. And right here, I've got a floor plan of falling water. This gives me a basic set of dimensions, right? So this is the size of the image. So if I knew out on my image how big this was, I could go ahead and establish the scale now. But really my only known dimension that I have is out across this living space is right around 40 feet. So that looks like it's maybe a third of this overall image. So I'm going to establish that as 120 feet. It's going to keep my aspect ratio together. So I'm just going to use that as a starting point, and then we'll scale it more accurately once I have it in. So we'll say OK to that. So I've got my plan in place now. If you notice, it's not easy to select. Okay, so you select an image that you brought in that comes in on the ground plane by double-clicking it. So a double left click, and now I can move it. I'm actually going to move it over to the side so that it's a little bit easier to work on. And I'm going to draw a line from edge to edge. So this line, actually not edge to edge, I want to draw a line that is 40 feet. That's specific in its size. So I'm going to use the tab key, 40, enter. Because I know that with this living room, that wall and that wall should be 40 feet. So well, I would say I'm in the ballpark, but really, honestly, I'm not even in the ballpark. I'm about half off, a little bit less than half off. So let's scale this image so that that out-to-out edge is 40 feet. So again, I'm going to double-click the image. I'm going to right-click to open up the wheel, and I'm going to select Scale. So the Scale button has two things that I'm looking for. It has my center point and then my actual scale. So I'm going to move my center point of the scale to the end point of the line that I drew. So that went to on vertex. I'm going to slide this next point, my reference point, to the end of that living room wall. And then I'm going to use this guide right here to expand until I get to the end point of that 40-foot line that I drew. I'm hoping I passed it. There it is. It's right there. So it's going to snap to the end of that vertex line. So now I've got that line right here, and that is set up outside edge on this plan to be 40 feet. So I can delete that. And now I'm a little bit more prepared with something to act as a reference to start building these forms on top of. That is closer to, probably not as precise as it should be, but certainly closer to an overall scale. So before I position this over the top, a few other things to show. Let's just kind of position this right here. I can, once that's selected, I can manipulate the transparency, and I can also begin to rotate this around to line up with the existing plan, which I think is something like that. But I'm definitely going to have to go back and do a little bit of research to make sure I'm seeing those two pieces correctly. So that would work something along those lines right here to start modeling on top of. Definitely need to double check that. The next video I'll have that double checked. We'll take a look at it. We'll start making some of the massing objects over the top of this to export to our 3D printer.